Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mench. Today, I'm going to do a manual install of Arch Linux using the August 1st ISO. And I'm going to install the KDE Plasma desktop environment. So, let's get to it. Right now, I'm in my bare metal computer of Arch Linux with the awesome window manager. And I'm going to open up Firefox, my web browser. I'm just going to right click it and we're going to open up Firefox. And I'm going to type in archlinux.org. And what I'm going to do is go to downloads. I'm going to go to installation guide. And do I need to make this larger print? I guess not. And is my face in the way? I hope not. So Arch Linux has its own installation guide for a manual install. And you could just follow this. Tells you how to verify the signature, which I went through in my last video. Tells you about the boot environment. It even has a table of contents. Preparing the installation media, booting into the live environment, how to set the console, keyboard layout and font, verify the boot mode. I'm just really going to quickly go through this. Connect to the internet. Now, it tells you here how to do your Wi-Fi. Now, I don't have Wi-Fi in my computers, so my manual installs or any of my installs never include Wi-Fi because my computers are hooked up to the Ethernet. But if you have Wi-Fi, it's going to tell you how to hook it up. Now, I suggest if you have the ability to hook up your computer to an Ethernet cable, that really is the preferred way to do your installation rather than trying to get the Wi-Fi up and running in the terminal. Now, there is the way to do it. And there's instructions here and even other videos on it, but I never did it. Okay, so I'm just showing you this quickly. Tells you how to update the system clock, how to partition the disks. It even gives you some example and layouts on how to partition the disks. And you can scan down and read this. And another thing too is that in my installs, I always do a basic grub install. I never use UEFI. And my installs really are for older systems, but they will work for a newer system as long as your hard drive or your SSD is not larger than 2 terabytes. Okay? And as a matter of fact, some of these things I'm showing and explaining, I've never showed or explained in my previous install videos. Why? I just never thought of it. So really, you can follow these instructions and do an install. Now, the only problem is that now let's just scan down here. It's going to tell you how to set the region and the date and the time zone and how to set your clock and your localization, how to do your network configuration, set up a host name, a root password, how to do your bootloader, reboot. And by the time you get to the bottom of the page, if you follow these instructions, by the time you get to the bottom of the page, you're going to have a base install with a root account and a password. You won't have a user account yet, and you won't have any web browsers or desktop environments or window managers or apps or anything. It would just be a base installation with a root account. Now, the problem with this instructions is that they leave some things out, and they're assuming that you are tech savvy, and they take some things for granted and they don't explain some things. Now, the way I do my manual install on my videos, I have written instructions and they're free for you to download. So let's just open up another tab and let's go to my GitLab page. Let's do Linux Mench GitLab. Let's click that on. Let's go to Linux Mench GitLab. Let's just click on here. And you know what? Maybe I'm going to make this page a bit larger. And what I'm taking you through now, like I've done many of installations on how to install Arch Linux using the automated installer and doing a manual install, encrypted and not encrypted and so forth. But I've never really walked people through this. And this is a good thing to walk through before I get started on the video. But it's going to make the video a little bit longer because we're already 6 minutes into the video. So this is my GitLab page, and it's free for you to go to and use and download. You can download it in the terminal, or you can download it from here. So if you click on this Arch one and scan down, you're going to see two texts. You're going to see this first one is a base install encrypted. So if you click it on, it's my instructions on how to do a manual install of Arch Linux, a base install with encryption, where your whole installation will be encrypted. And this is what I go through when I make my videos. Actually, I follow this because I don't have everything memorized, right? And when you get to the end, you're going to have a base install. Now, if we go back one, now you can click on this one. This is a base install not encrypted. It's the same instructions, and I go through all the same stuff. The only difference is the install will not be encrypted. And actually, this one's a little easier to do, and it's a little faster to do than the encrypted one. Okay, and again, when you get to the end, you're going to have a base install with root and a password for root, and that's it. There'll be no apps or window managers installed or desktop environments installed or web browsers installed or anything. Then you can go out of here, and if you go down to this text, it's called post install text, install instructions. You open up this, and I'm at the bottom there. This is instructions to do a post install. So after you've done your base install and you've disconnected your ISO and you've booted into your system, this is going to show you how to add a user, how to give your user a password, how to give your user sudo privileges. It's going to show you how to download my GitLab repository in the TTY. It's going to show you how to download all my favorite apps and all my favorite window managers and desktop environments and all the web browsers and things that I use. It's going to show you how to run a script that's going to set certain things in motion. And it's going to explain a few other things if you follow this instructions. Now, another thing too that you might want to look at is this. And actually, this is the first time I ever showed this and explained this at the beginning of the video before I actually go through the install. So I'm doing things a little differently this time. And what you want to do is my post install script is going to install, if you run this file, this auto app file, okay? And it's going to install all these files that are going to help your system to run. It's going to install two window managers, the Qtile window manager and the awesome window manager. It's going to install the Cinnamon desktop environment. And it's going to install all my favorite apps. It's going to install music apps, music player, video players. It's going to install Firefox and the Firefox ad blocker. It's going to install a lot of utilities. It's going to install all the files you need to make music and videos work properly. It's going to install Kdenlive, the LibreFresh Office. It's going to install OBS Studio. PCman FM is just a file manager. It's going to install your print managers, things that you need. A Rhythm Box for music. It's going to install the Tor web browser, and so forth, and a lot more. It's going to install Zesh, uncomplicated firewall, and lots of other stuff, your calculator, pretty much everything you're going to need to run your system. And if we go back, I'm just going to show you one more file. This run config file is in the post installation. You can run this config file, and it's going to copy a few wallpapers into your system. It's going to copy some other configuration files into your system. It's going to copy the configuration file from my awesome window manager and my Qtile into your system, my LightDM greeter into your system, my vimrc into your system, And it's also going to automatically set the firewall to stop all incoming and allow outgoing. And it's going to set the firewall to always be turned on when you reboot your system. So I'm just going to close this. I'm going to close my web browser. So I just showed you all this just to say that, hey, you can follow the instructions from the Arch Linux wiki, or you can follow my instructions. And if you want, you can print my instructions and follow along with the video. Now, I always suggest to people that you have an extra computer around in case something goes wrong, or perhaps an iPad or an iPhone or some type of a smart tablet so you can access the internet in case you need to go to the Arch Linux wiki and get help. And remember, the Arch Linux wiki is your friend. And in case you need to go and get some help, you should always have some type of availability to get on the internet. Like I said, it would be best if you could have your system hooked up to an Ethernet cable, because in my videos, I don't go through the Wi-Fi, setting up the Wi-Fi and the TTY, I don't go through that. And also, you should know how to use Vim. Before you even think of starting, you should know how to use Vim or Nano or some other text editor that's available in Arch Linux that's going to work in the TTY. Because if you don't know how to use the text editor, you won't be able to go through this. Okay? Now, like I said, Arch Linux has an automated installer. You can install an Arch Linux system in 15 to 20 minutes. But if you want to do it the manual way, it's going to take a little bit longer. So having said all that, let's get started. So I've booted up into a virtual machine of Arch Linux. And this is what you're going to get. You're going to land in the TTY. And it's not like Linux Mint when you go in and you're going to get a nice way to play with the system and experiment with the system to see if you like it. Or like any of the other modern Linux distributions like Manjaro or, well, I can't think of any right now, but you know what I mean, right? So this is what you get. So this first part you don't have to do, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the font larger. I'm going to type in set font tier -132 B. I'm going to make B for bold. Ah, look at that. And you can clear the screen by going clear, or Control L will clear the screen as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I have internet access, and I know I do, but I'm going to check it. I'm going to ping archlinux.com. Oops, sorry, .org. Better do it right, it's .org. And you can see I have internet access. And to stop that, I'm going to do Control L. Oh, sorry. To stop that, I'm going to do Control C. That stopped it. And you can clear the screen by Control L as well if you don't want to type out clear. Now, another thing I'm going to do, and I forgot to tell you while I was on the internet. So let's go back to my main computer and let's open up Firefox. Let's go to archlinux.org. And what you want to do is go to the wiki, type in mirrors. Like that. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to click on mirror status. Then I'm going to go here and click on successfully syncing mirrors. And can I make this a little larger? So I'm going to click on successfully syncing mirrors. And then I'm going to click on to sort by country. And then I'm going to click it on again because I want to bring the United States to the top. So I'm going to use the United States mirrors, even though I'm in Canada. And the way to pick the mirror is you want the mirror score to be the lowest. And should I hide my face here? Okay, I'm just going to hide my face for this part. I hope I remember to turn it back on. So we got the United States here. And what you want to do is you want to get a mirror score that's low. The lowest, in this last column, the lowest, the better. The other thing is completion. You want it to be 100% complete. Like these mirrors are at like 98%. I won't use them. For sure, this one's at 54%. For sure, you wouldn't use that. So you want to get a mirror that's at 100% and has a nice low score, like 0.6 is a nice low score. The other thing is I only use the mirrors that have an S. So you see this one doesn't have an S, but this one does. So the S means that it's secure. It's harder for there to be a man in the middle. So I always use the ones with the S. Now the ones with the S are a bit slower than the ones without the S. But I have good internet speed here, so it doesn't matter. This one here, America Package Build, is a mirror that I often use. It has the S. It's in the United States. It's 100% in sync, and it's a 0.7. 0.7 is good. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to pick another mirror. And this Team Workshop mirror also has an S. It's 100%, and it also has a 0.7. So I'm going to pick that one as well. And maybe I'm going to do this constant mirror. It also has an S, and it's 100%, and it's at 0.8. So let's take a look at the mirrors we're going to use again. I'm going to use America Package Build, TMM Workshop, and I'm going to use constant. So you know what? I'm going to keep this up here just in case I have to refer to it again. And I'm going to go back to my virtual machine. And I'm going to put a full screen. I'm going to do a time, date, control, leave a space, set, NTP, true. This is setting the time to be true, set true from the internet, okay? Now I'm going to pull down the mirrors. So I'm going to type in this command, curl -o -etsy Pacman d mirror list, leave a space, https //archlinux.org /mirror list /all/ and I'm going to hit enter. If I typed it in right, it's going to download all the mirrors. Now I'm going to clear the screen. Remember, it's Control L. And I'm going to make the font a little bit smaller so you can see that line on one line. Okay. Just going to do set font tier -128. Let's make it normal. Let's see if that will help. And then I'm going to use my arrow to go up. I can use my up arrow to kind of bring in the last command. So let's clear the screen and let's use my arrow. That was the last command. Let's do the second last command. That is the command and the way the command will work. And what that command did is it downloaded mirrors from the whole world. If I typed it right. We'll find out in a second if I typed it right. So now I'm going to do set font tier -132b. Now I'm going to do vim etsy Pacman _d mirror list. There we are. We're in the mirror list. And I'm going to do shift : set NU. I'm going to set numbers. There we are. So let's go to the bottom. I'm going to jump to the bottom. There's over 1,000 mirrors. Not exactly, because these numbers are counting the blank spaces. So you can see here, and I can't use my mouse, but you can see here 1060. That's a blank line. So it's counting the blank lines. So there's 1,000 mirrors. It says 1,070. There's 1,000 mirrors. Now all these mirrors are turned off because of the hashtag or the number sign that's in front of the line. So none of these mirrors are active. And the way that this is right now, you can't use it because none of the mirrors are activated. I can do that / I'm going to type in America. There it is there. That's one of the mirrors. And you always want to make sure you have the one with the S because sometimes there's two mirrors. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to paste it in. I'm going to take out the hashtag or the number sign. I'm going to go to the end. And there. So that's my first mirror. It's activated because I took the number sign out. And like I said, if you don't know how to use Vim or Nano or Vi or some other one that's works in the TTY, you won't be able to do this. Not a manual install anyways. So now I'm going to do a for TMM. There it is there. And I'm going to delete it. I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to paste it in as my second mirror. Take out the number sign to activate it. And now I'm going to go to constant. Now you see constant has two mirrors. They have the mirror without the S, the HTTP without the S, so it's not as secure, but it will be faster. Or they have the one with the S, which is more secure, but a little slower. So I'm going to take the one with the S. I'm going to delete it. Oops. Let's go to the top. Let's paste it in. Okay, so I have three mirrors. And now I'm going to save the file. And I'm going to clear the screen. What I want to do is, you have to sync the mirrors. I'm going to do Pacman dash capital S YY, and it's going to sync the mirrors. And watch, this is going to be really fast. It's done. The mirrors are sunk or synced. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is lsblk, and I just want to see what I have here. So in this virtual machine, I made a 50 gig hard drive, or a 50 gig drive, right? And you can see it right here. It's VDA. Well, I can't use my mouse, sorry. It's VDA, and it's 50 gigs. Now, if you're doing this on bare metal, it's probably going to be SDA, or it could be SDB or SDC, whatever. Okay. So now I'm going to clear the screen. So now I'm going to type in CF disk. A lot of people go with GPT, but I always go with DOS because I have older systems and I don't have huge drives. So as long as your drive is not over 2 terabytes, you can do DOS. Now there's a lot of people do GPT, and there's other ways of formatting the disk, but I always do it this way. So I'm going to go DOS, going to hit enter. And you can see my free space is 50 gigs. And actually what I'm going to do is quit out of here, and I'm going to clear screen. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. I'm going to do set font tier dash 128N just for this. And also I'm going to turn my face off for this part. I just hope I remember to turn it back on. If I forget, send me a message to remind me. I'm just joking. Okay, so I'm going to do I'm going to do CF disk, and I'm going to go into DOS. And you can see I have a 50 gig hard drive. So you can see you can use your arrows to maneuver around. I'm going to do new. And what I'm going to do is erase this 50 gig. I'm going to make a 1 gig drive for my boot. Now I used to do a boot drive at 200 megabytes or 250 megabytes, and then I went to 500 megabytes. I'm going to make a 1 gig boot drive so that you never run out of space. And it's really good to do that, especially if you're planning to install more than one kernel at a time, which you can do. So I'm going to make a 1 gig drive for boot. Not drive, it's a partition. I'm going to make a 1 gig partition for boot. I'm going to say primary. And I'm going to use my arrows and put bootable. And then I'm going to use my down arrow to go to the free space. Now I have 49 gig of free space. I'm going to hit new. It's 49 gig. I'm going to hit enter again. I'm going to hit primary. I'm going to make that bootable too. And now I'm going to write. I'm going to hit write and enter. And now you have to type in yes. Yes. And now I'm going to quit. Now it's syncing the disks. Now I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to bring my face back. And I'm going to set the font to be larger again. Set font tier dash 132B. There we go. And I'm going to do lsblk. So now you can see my VDA. Now, like I said, if this is bare metal, it's probably going to be SDA or SDB or SDC, whatever, if you have more than one drive. Because it's a virtual machine, it's VDA. It's 50 gigs. VDA1 is 1 gig. I'm going to make that my boot partition. And VDA2 is 49 gigs, and that's going to be for my installation of Arch Linux. So now I'm going to make a file system for my boot drive or my boot partition. mkfs make file system ext4 space dev slash VDA1. Now, like I said, yours might be SDA1 or SDB1, okay? But because it's a virtual machine, it's VDA1. I'm going to hit enter, and it made the file system. Now I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do lsblk again, and I'm going to type in mkfs period ext4, leave a space, slash dev slash VDA2. And I'm making a file system for my second partition. I'm going to close it, or sorry, clear it out as lsblk. Now I have a file system for both partitions. Now what I'm going to do is type in mount dev VDA2, my main partition, space slash to mnt. Now I'm going to do clear the screen. I'm going to do make dir, make directory slash mnt slash boot. And now I'm going to type in mount dev VDA1, which is my boot partition, space slash mnt slash boot. Now I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do an lsblk to make sure everything worked out okay. So now you can see VDA is 50 gig. VDA1, which is my boot partition, is 1 gig, and it's mounted to boot. And VDA2 is 49 gig for the rest of my installation, and it's mounted to MNT mount, okay? Let's just clear the screen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into Vim, etc, Pacman, conf. And what I'm going to do is go down here. I'm going to activate this line to make verbose package list, which means when you're downloading packages, instead of showing you what's going to be downloaded in a paragraph, it's going to show it in columns, although that probably won't work here because my font is too large. But I'm going to do that anyways. But the real reason why I came in here is I want to activate this line. Parallel downloads equals 5. This is going to make the downloading faster. I'm going to delete that, activate it. Then I'm going to right-click it, or save the file, and I'm going to clear the screen. I'm just going to do Pacman SYY again, just to resync it. I probably don't have to resync the files, but I'm doing that anyways. So I'm going to go pack strap slash mnt space base dash devel linux slash firmware Linux. I'm going to put the stable kernel in and the long-term support kernel. Linux dash LTS vim git and terminus font. Okay. And I'm going to hit enter. And now it's installing all these packages. So see the paragraph up here? If the font wasn't so large, it would be in columns. But the main reason why is I wanted to do parallel downloads, which makes it downloading faster. So you see at the bottom of the screen, it's installing 159 packages. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pause the video for a moment. And when it's finished, this is probably going to take not long. This is going to take less than 5 minutes. I think it's only going to, I don't even know if I have to pause the video. So what we're doing right now is we're installing a base installation of Arch Linux with 2 kernels, the stable kernel and the long-term support kernel. And we're going to give it root and reboot. Well, we got a few more things to go through. Now, In this video, I'm also going to do a post installation, the KDE desktop environment. And that's all going to be in this video, but I might have to do the video in two parts because it's getting late and it's probably going to be time for me to go for dinner soon. So I'm probably going to have to stop the video after my base install so I can go for dinner. And it looks like we're almost done this installing or downloading the base install. So I did a lot of talking there. Okay, so that didn't take long. It took about maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I never got out of my chair. So now I'm going to clear the screen, and you could just type it in this way, clear. I'm going to type in this command Genfstab space dash capital U slash mount arrow space mnt slash etc slash fstab. Okay. Now we're going to root into the system or change root. And we're going to root into our system or change root, root. Oops, I'm doing that wrong. I'm going to do arch dash root slash mnt. There we go. Now I'm going to clear the screen. Now we got to put our time zone and area that we live in. And if you don't know how to type it in, if you know how to type it in, it's one line. But if you don't know how to search for it, this is how you're going to do it. To find out your time zone, we're going to do ls slash usr share zone info. And there's the zone. So I'm in Canada, but now you can use your arrow, your up arrow, to get the last command in. So let's do that. Okay. But further on down in the first row, where it says root, above it, it says Chile, and above it, it says Canada. Let's do a slash and let's do Canada. Now we can see it has Atlanta, Central, Eastern, Mountain, Pacific time, Newfoundland time. Well, I'm in Eastern Canada. So I'm going to do a slash and do Eastern. Hit enter, and that's it. So now what I'm going to do is type in this command. ln-f slash usr slash zone info slash Canada slash Eastern. Okay. And then I'm going to leave a space. I'm going to do slash etc slash local time. Now I just want to make sure you can see that. So there it is there. The command is going to look like that. Okay. And I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to clear the screen and type in vim etc locale gen. And I'm going to scan down. Actually, you can do a search. en underscore, and here it is here. I want the Canadian one. So I'm going to uncomment the one for Canada, actually the two for Canada. And I'm going to save the file, and I'm going to clear the screen. Now I'm going to type in locale dash gen. And it's generating my locale. Now, if you make a mistake here, after your installation is done, your clock will be off, but it can be fixed after the fact. Okay? So now I'm going to type in vim etc locale conf. And I'm going to type in this command. Oops. And they have to be in caps. Equals. The caps and the small letters have to be exactly like this. Except it might be a little different because of your area where you live in. Okay. Underscore cap ca period utf dash 8. Okay. And like I said, if you mess this up, it can be fixed after the fact. And I'm going to save the file. Oops, the caps are on. I'm going to save the file and get out of there. And I'm going to clear the screen. Now we're going to give it a host name. vim etc host name. And I'm going to call this, you can call it whatever you want, and this can be changed easily after the fact. So I'm just going to call this Arch2 because I already have a virtual machine of Arch Linux. So this is going to be my second install of Arch Linux, or my second virtual machine of Arch Linux. Okay. You can call it whatever you want. And like I said, you can change it after the fact. Now I'm going to clear the screen. Now I'm going to type in this command, mkinitcpio space dash capital P. And it's going to go through this. And I hope I did it right. This takes a moment, and it's going to take a little bit longer because I installed 2 kernels. And it's creating an image, okay? Okay, it's done. Now I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to type in this command. I'm going to give root a password. So I'm going to do PSSWD. So it's password without the O and without the R. Okay? And I'm going to give root a password. I'm going to do it again. So now root has a password. I'm going to type in Pacman S Network Manager and Grub. I'm installing Network Manager and Grub. And we're almost done the base install, and then I'm going to go have dinner. So once the base install, okay, there we go. Let's clear the screen. Now I'm going to turn on Network Manager so that every time we boot, your Network Manager gets turned on. And without the Network Manager, you won't have any internet. Okay, so I'm going to do system control enable Network Manager. Now notice Network Manager is one word, and the N for network and the M for manager are capitalized. And why are they capitalized? I have no idea, but that's the way you have to type it in. Okay, and that's done. So now every time we reboot, your Network Manager will be automatically turned on and you'll have internet access. Now we're going to type in this command, grub dash install dev, you have to leave a space, dev VDA. Now yours will probably be SDA or SDB, but because it's a virtual machine, it's VDA. And we're installing grub. And we're almost done the first half. Okay, so it says it installed grub, it finished installing grub, and no error reported. Now we're going to type in this command. Let's clear the screen. Let's do grub mk config -o boot grub cfg. So we got to type in this command, and this in the middle here, that dash, it's a -o. It's a small o. It's not a 0. Okay, we're going to hit enter, and now we're creating grub. Now let's clear the screen. So now we're going to exit. And I'm going to type in another command to make sure we've disconnected. umount -R /mnt. Oops. mnt. And now we've disconnected. So now I'm going to reboot. And we are rebooting. And now I'm going to use my arrows to stop it from booting. And I'm going to go to advanced, and let's make that full screen again. I have 2 kernels. So now you have 5 seconds to stop it, or it's going to go to whatever kernel is at the top of the list. And you can change that. And afterwards, I'm going to show you how to change it to 10 seconds. So you have more time to stop it to decide which kernel you want to load into. Okay. So I'm going to go to advanced options. And you can see it has the LTS kernel and the stable kernel. So it was going to install, it was going to boot into. So because the list is the way it is, it's going to automatically boot into the one that's at the top. So in this case, it's going to automatically boot into the LTS kernel unless I stop it and go into advanced and pick the stable kernel. Let's pick the stable kernel. I'm going to hit enter. And now we're booting into the stable kernel. And we're at the log. Now, I don't have a login manager installed yet or a display manager. We're in the TTY, and I don't have a user yet. So I'm going to have to put in root. And I put root's password in. And now we're in root. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is set font tier dash 132B. Oh, that's better. So now I'm going to make a user. I'm going to type in user add space dash M Mench. And I'm going to give Mench a password. PASSWD. So it's password without the O and without the R. And type in Mench. And I'm going to give Mench a password. Now I'm going to make Mench part of the sudo group. So I'm going to do vim etc sudoers. And I'm going to scan down. Now, most people would make most Linux distributions, and most people teaching how to use Linux on YouTube would tell you to make a Mench part of the wheel group and then uncomment this one to make it active. But I don't do it that way. I'm unorthodox. I do it the unorthodox way. And the way I do it will work for yourself, and perhaps if you have one more user. But making your user part of the wheel group is really good if you're an administrator and you have a lot of people that are using the system, and some people you want to give sudo rights to, and some people you don't want to give sudo rights. And it's fantastic to use the wheel group. But I don't use the wheel group. So, you know what? I'm just going to get out of here. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to go back into the file. And what I'm going to do is I just do this. Copy this. This is good to do for one user. I'm going to delete root and type in Mench. So I'm giving Mench full privileges. Like I said, this is unorthodox. This is the way I always do it in my videos and the way I do it in all my distributions, but I'm doing it the unorthodox way, okay? I'm going to save the file, and that's done. Now I'm going to exit, and I'm going to log in as Mench. Put my password in. Now I'm logged in as Mench with password and sudo privileges. Now I'm going to go and change this file, vim etc pacman conf. So this file, when you change this file during the install, it doesn't stick to your install. Now the mirror one does, but this one doesn't. So if we go down, we uncommented these two lines, and now they're commented again. But this is the last time we'll have to do this. And I like to do this for the parallel downloads. Okay, I'm going to save the file. Whoops. I forgot to go in sudo because now I'm in. Okay. I'm in my user. So I got to do sudo. You know what? Let's do this. Sudo. Okay. Put my sudo password in, and let's go back and change those. Let's delete that. Let's delete that. Let's save it. Now, just to show you, the mirror one that we changed before, it's stuck. So we're going to do sudo vim etc pacman period d mirror list. See, that stuck. And I'm going to clear the screen. So now I have a user. My user has sudo privileges and a password. So just in case you haven't noticed, a day has passed by. So I went and had my dinner, and I was too tired to work on the video after that. So a day has gone by, and I'm going to finish the video. Now, I forgot to mention this before, and that's this, is that when you install Arch Linux this way, when you finish your installation, it's totally up to date. It's not like Linux Mint or MX Linux or Manjaro. You know, when you do with those, when you do an installation, you're going to have to do an update. And depending on how old the ISO is, it could be a long update. But when you install Arch Linux this way, when you finish your installation, it's totally up to date. You don't have to update anything. Now, the thing is that with Arch Linux, there's updates to do every day. Actually, you could do updates several times a day with Arch Linux. So almost 24 hours have passed since I worked on this install. So because 24 hours have passed, there's going to be updates. So before we start installing a window manager or a desktop environment or favorite apps, we're going to have to update it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to type in sudo. Now, just so you know, we haven't installed a window manager yet or a desktop environment, so we're still in the TTY. And I'm going to type in sudo Pacman, capital S, YU. Okay, let's hit enter. Let's put my password in. And let's see if there's updates to do. Oh, there's only one update. Actually, that's not bad for almost 24 hours. Well, it's not exactly 24 hours. What is it? It's almost 5. I think I finished working on the video at 7 to go to dinner last night. So, what, we're at 22 hours? Actually, that's not bad at all. Only one update. Maybe it's because I don't have anything installed. All I have installed is a base package. I don't have any apps or a window manager or desktop environment installed yet. Anyways, let's hit OK. Let's install it. Okay, let's clear the screen. Firefox dash u block or origin. What else could we do? I'm gonna put in Htop, neofetch. Let's do fast fetch too. And what else can we do? Oh, I'm gonna do plasma. Let's do plasma, and I guess that's enough for now. Let's hit enter. Let's put my password in. Let's see what happens. And it's installing all this. And I'm just gonna say yes. I'm gonna hit enter again. Hit enter again. Hit enter again. I'm gonna keep entering ahead. Okay, there we go. So like I said, so now it's installing 529 packages or apps. And like I said, normally I don't do it this way because this is kind of sort of like building it from scratch. Not really, but it is in a way. And like I said, I always, whether I'm doing it for myself or I'm doing it for a video, and whether I'm doing it in bare metal or in a virtual machine, I always just run my script because it installs all those apps that I want, and you're free to download them and use them yourself. And look how fast this is going. I don't think I'm going to have to pause the video. This is going really fast. And I might just pause it for a couple of seconds because I don't feel like talking. Wow, this is amazingly fast. I must be using a good mirror. Okay, so I paused the video for a little bit. It took less than 5 minutes. I never even got out of my chair. And I'm going to clear the screen. And it installed, when I installed KDE Plasma, it installed SDDM, the login manager or the display manager that comes with Plasma. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in this command, sudo system control enable SDDM. There. Now what I did is, because I did that, so when I reboot, it's going to, instead of taking me into the TTY, it's going to take me into the login manager or the display manager. Okay. Now there's another thing I want to do, and I'm going to clear the screen. And you remember that we installed 2 kernels, and when there's more than one kernel installed, whatever is at the top of the list of that kernel is going to be the one that it automatically boots into. And if you always want to boot into a kernel that's lower in the list, then you gotta use your arrows to pause booting into the system so you can bring up a menu to choose which kernel you want. And it's by default, it's on a 5-second delay, but that 5 seconds goes really fast. So let's say we want to change that to 10 seconds. This is how I'm going to do it. So what I'm going to do is sudo vim /etc/default/ Grub. Okay. And if you see here, let's just do a NU. Oop, set NU. So I'm going to go down to this line, and I'm going to change that to a 10. And I'm going to save the file. And I'm going to run this command. Grub make config space dash O, and that's an O and not a 0, slash boot slash grub slash grub period CFG. Just like that, okay? I'm going to enter it. We're not in root anymore. So I'm going to type in sudo and do 2 exclamation marks. Okay? There it goes. Now, because we did this, because there's a 10-second delay, it's going to take a little longer to boot into your system, but it's good if you want to go in and change the kernel. Now, right now, I am running, if I do uname R, I'm running the LTS kernel. Now, I know when I finished the video last night, I was running the stable kernel. But when I logged in today, I wasn't fast enough to stop it because it was on that 5-second delay, and it automatically loaded up the LTS kernel. So let's reboot. Let's see what happens. So if it worked, we should have a 10-second delay. And see, it's counting down from 10 seconds. So now I'm going to use my arrow to stop it. And as soon as you touch your arrows, it pauses the 10-second delay, or 5-second if you didn't change it. And we're going to go to Advanced Options for Arch Linux. And now, so you see the LTS kernel is at the top of the list. So it's the one that it's always going to automatically boot into. And I'm going to use my arrows to go down to this one here. I'm going to hit enter. So now we're going to boot into the stable kernel, the current stable kernel. Okay. And it should take me to the login screen. And not, yeah, there it goes. So you see it worked. Now it installed Wayland. That's interesting. I don't even know if Wayland will work in this virtual machine. Does this work? Oh, I'm going to go into Plasma X11. Okay. And as you can see, it has my name. I'm going to type in my password. I'm going to hit enter and let's see what happens. And it's loading up KDE Plasma. Taking a long time to load up. Oh, there it goes. So we have a welcome menu. I'm going to skip this. And it's loading up. Oh, there we go. And now the resolution is off. And that's because this is a virtual machine. So I'm going to right click. Display configuration. You only have to do this once. And most likely, if you install this in bare metal, you won't have to do it. So for my virtual machines, I like them to be 1360 by 768. So I'm going to click it on. I'm going to apply it. And it's asking me if I want to keep it. I'm going to say yes. So now we are in KDE Plasma. And you can see we have Firefox here because I installed it. Let's open it up. Okay, so we have Firefox installed. And the ad blocker is working. Okay. That's the ad blocker that we installed. And let's close it. Now, I'm not that familiar with KDE Plasma. This is our system settings. And I'm not going to do a large tour of KDE Plasma. And I'm not going to show you how to change or configure KDE Plasma. We could turn on the breeze dark. We could do that. But basically, this was just to show you how to install it. And did KDE Plasma come with a terminal? Because I didn't install a terminal. Now, like I said, if I would have used my post install script, it would have installed a terminal for me, right? But I didn't use my post install script. And when I installed Firefox and a few other apps I installed, I didn't think of installing a terminal. I thought KDE Plasma was going to install one for me. And I think it's console. Let's see if we have a console here. Let's do a search. Console. Looks like we don't have a terminal installed. That's interesting. I guess Htop won't work. No, because there's no terminal installed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down to the TTY. Now, if this was a bare metal computer, you do Control Alt and hit F1 or F2 or F3, right? And as you can see here, it's Control Alt F1 or 2 or 3 or 4 and so forth. Because this is a virtual machine, I have to use the menu. But if this was a bare metal computer, you'd use your you would use your keyboard and go Control Alt F2 or F3 or whatever. Okay, so let's drop down to F3. So we're in TTY3. I'm going to type in Mench. I'm going to type in my password. Set font tier -132. Oops, 132B. I'm going to clear the screen. And let's do sudo Pacman s console, and I'm going to install Xterm as well. Put my password in, and let's install it. There we go. And let's just stay. We can stay in the TTY if we want. Let's go back to and let's see if we can get Htop working now. Let's go into Htop. There we are. And we're running at 964 megabytes of RAM. 957. It's a bit high, but it's not bad. KDE and GNOME are high desktop environments, so it's not terribly bad. And I also installed Xterm. Let's see if we can get that on. Let's go into search, and there we go, Xterm. There we go. Could do an Htop in here too. And running, I know, sorry about blinding you. So like I said, I'm not going to show you how to use KDE or how to configure it. That's KDE Plasma. It's a lot like Windows, kind of. And that's it. In this video, I went through a manual install of Arch Linux, and this time I did not encrypt it. Then I went through a manual install of KDE Plasma, Firefox, and a few other apps. And like I said, I showed you how to do a post install manually by adding in your own apps. But I think that's really the hard way to do it, because you really have to know all the files and apps you're going to need for your system to be a full functioning system. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I am the Linux Mench.